What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Hope everyone had a solid Thanksgiving. I know I watched a lot of football, and my parents complained about every hour of football that I watched.
Same over here. I remember on Thanksgiving, I think it was after the Cowboys game, my mom goes, "All right, what's on next, Jimmy?" I'm like, "Another football game." she was not very excited about another football game being played.
Yeah, I had my laptop and my phone in my lap and the TV, and my dad's like, "How can you watch all three games?" I was like, "Because I can. It's called multitasking." He would be dumbfounded at the setup that I have in my apartment with the two TV setup plus my laptop and phone.
Yeah.
And then NFL Sundays, we got the NFL Sunday ticket on the bottom TV so we can quad screen that, and then the one up top with whatever local broadcast, and then one on my computer with the other local broadcast.
Just letting you know, audience, we are sickos.
Hence the name, Football Addicts Anonymous. Not very anonymous, I guess. But yeah, we're going to switch it up this week, talking NFL first, because I know Jimmy wants to do that. So
I really
just
don't.
off last night's game. But yeah, since we didn't do this one on Friday, figured we'd recap it now. Black Friday, though, first ever Black Friday game. Dolphins crushing the Jets 34-13. This game pissed me off. Like, I wanted the Dolphins to win, obviously. They're my AFC champion. But, bro, Tua, stop throwing the ball to the other team. You're losing me fantasy games, bro. Like, multiple turnovers in the last, I think, 3 games for Tua. So frustrating in fantasy.
It's starting to become concerning because I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. It's like he can get away with this kind of performance against a team like the Jets, but you get into playoff football, you can't have a game where you have 2-3 interceptions and expect to win.
But yeah, I didn't even know he fumbled. Like, I got off of the one fantasy app that I was looking at, and then went back later to check other people's stats. And lo and behold, he lost another 2 points for a fumble. I was like, when did he fumble? When? Tell me, because I don't remember that.
I don't remember either.
But he did in the stat sheet, anyways. 9.82 points. Fantastic. But yeah, anyways, Dolphins continue to win. Tied for second right now. Thing that's killing them, strength of victory right now is killing the Dolphins. That's why they're 4th seed instead of 2 or 3, where the Jags or the Chiefs and Jags currently sit. But yeah, I'm happy Dolphins won. Anyways, Jets are interesting now. 4-7. They're still there. They're 2 games out. But they need to start winning if they want Aaron to come back, because he's not going to come back for a non-playoff team. So
no, definitely not.
Tua, 21-30, 70%, 243, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, a fumble. Tim Boyle, the new starter for the Jets, efficient. If you want to pull a positive from the Jets' offensive performance.
Efficiently underwhelming is probably a good word.
27-38, 71.1%, 179, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And the Jets defense is keeping them in the game the entire first half, and then kind of unraveled in the second half, similar to the Bills game 2 weeks ago. Dolphins running back Raheem Mostert leading the game in rushing, 20 carries, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. I was pissed that a chain didn't play. I really needed him to play. But looks like it's going to be this week now. That he will be back after he re-aggravated his knee injury 2 weeks ago. Breece Hall continues to suck as well in fantasy.
I traded him.
11 points. I couldn't I tried. I was going big fish hunting and didn't get anything.
I traded him in the offseason for a first-round pick that turned into Say Flowers and Jared Goff, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about that one.
Now all the trade deadlines are passed, unfortunately, in all my leagues. Of course, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill both over 100, which is interesting. They had 216 yards. Two only threw for 243. Jalen Waddle, 8 receptions, 114 yards, and 8 targets. Tyreek, 9 for 102, a touchdown on 12 targets. And for anyone that hasn't already watched the first episode of In-Season Hard Knocks, highly recommend. The Dolphins are super entertaining. Starting off with Mike McDaniel, and episode 2 drops tonight. I think it's 10 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you watch that on Amazon or HBO Max. Garrett Wilson for the Jets, also double-digit targets, 7 for 44, touchdown on 10 targets. Defensively, a lot of great performances. 2 touchdowns on this one. Jets corner Brandon Eccles, 2 tackles, 1 solo, pass deflection, 30-yard pick 6. And then how about the play at the end of the first half? Dolphin safety Javon Holland, 5 tackles, all of them solos, a pass deflection, and a 99-yard pick 6 off of a Hail Mary attempt by Tim Boyle.
It's like the butt fumble, man. They get to this time of year and Jets pull out just the most absurd thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I remember watching that live with my dad, and we're just tracking the play, and he gets to 20, and we're just like, there's no way, right? 30 to 40. It's like, he's got some blockers. He gets to pass midfield, and there's no one with speed that can stop him. I'm like, where are the wide receivers? Like, they can't catch up. And at that point, it's just like, if the only guy that can get him was Boyle, and he got knocked down. And I was like, yep, he just had a pick 6 to end the half.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's the same thing as like returning a short field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Except there aren't as many linemen on the field then.
Yeah, it's like returning a short field goal, but like all the fast guys start in the end zone with you, and you just have to like run past them.
Right. Yeah. Oh. But it's a hell of a play. Definitely never seen something like that. And then also I want to mention the game for, unfortunately, done for the year, but Dolphins linebacker Jalen Phillips, 4 tackles, 3 solos, a sack, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass deflection, 2 QB hits as well.
Yeah, just one of those just horrific non-contact injuries to the Achilles, which, why does this keep happening, man? This is like the third probably I guess Aaron Rodgers was in the middle of a tackle, so it was contact. But like Kirk Cousins and now this one, it's just
Stadium.
Yeah.
MetLife Stadium, that's why.
Yeah, it's been voted by players probably as the worst stadium in the league, and for good reason. Not just like aesthetically, it looks like kind of just cookie cutter and boring and just colorless. And that's the problem with having a team, like 2 teams share a facility. You can't really give it personality. And then you have a horrible turf that everyone hates. Yeah. Just worst of both worlds.
As far as the fan experience goes, it's not terrible. Been to 2 games there. Dolphins covered -9.5 over 40.5. On Sunday, Steelers 16-10 win over the Bengals. Should have been worse. Should have been a lot worse. Steelers, I think, completely dominated this game. Apart from like the end of the early second quarter, wasn't great, but the defense held serve all day like they have been, allowed 10 points, and Steelers looked good under new offensive coordinator Eddie Faulkner and play caller QB's coach Mike Sullivan. Over 400 yards, first time since Big Ben.
First time since before the Canada era, which is genuinely just hilarious. You rarely ever see in football a very obvious problem fix itself because of one move. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was literally just firing Matt Canada and opening up this offense to just doing anything else. Like having Kenny Pickett throw over the middle of the field changed his entire game. Like unreal.
Yeah. Kenny Pickett there, 24, 33, 72.7%, 278. Should have had a touchdown. Coach Tomlin, you got to challenge that, bud. Because it was close enough anyways. I thought that you could have overturned it. And then who's the Fox guy, the Fox officiating guy? I always forget which ones are for which networks. It's not. Is Dean Blandino for Fox? Mike Pereira. I don't know. Mike Pereira, Dean Blandino, whichever guy it is for the officiating stuff for Fox. He's like, yeah, like he had a good case that Deontay got a third step, so that would eliminate the having to go to the ground. So should have been a touchdown. And of course, they fumble the next play. Deontay Johnson's been scrutinized all week so far for not going after the ball. I was pissed too when none of the Steelers jumped on the ball. I was like, bro, what are you guys doing? Like, you got to get on the ball just in case he did fumble and wasn't down. And, it's all good. You won. If they would have lost, I think it would have been a bigger issue. But,
yeah.
For the Bengals, Jake Browning, first start this year. 19 to 26, 73.1%, 227, one touchdown, one pick. Yeah, not terrible.
Especially against a pretty good defense.
Yeah, he should have had like 2 or 3 picks, though. Steelers dropped a couple. The one went right through DeMonte KZ's hands. And, of course, friggin' Jamar Chase, bro, he got 2 tipped balls he caught. I was like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, we're tipping the ball up and we can't get interception. They get a long reception on both plays. It's ridiculous. Najee Harris looked excellent. 15 carries, 99 yards, touchdown. And like they kept saying all game, I think Charles Davis was on the call. They're like, he finally is understanding that he is a 240-pound running back and like running like it. So, yeah. And he did. He looked rejuvenated. And maybe that's all he needed was, the OC change, but also, relegated technically to the number 2. I think it's more of a 1A, 1B situation with him and Warren. But, yeah, Steelers' ground game is looking fantastic the last month. Since he didn't have a ground game, Joe Mixon, 16 yards, was the leader there. And then Pat Freiermuth, like you mentioned, the middle of the field throws. Pat Freiermuth went off on my bench.
Same. Really glad I won, but man, that hurt. It hurt seeing those points on the bench.
Yeah, it would have made mine closer. I think I calculated it out, and I still would have lost. But, 9 for 120 on 11 targets for Freiermuth in this one. And defensively, you have to go with the GOAT, T.J. Watt. For the Steelers, 5 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. And he is tied for the sack lead currently. Your guy, Danielle Hunter. And TJ Watt, 13.5 at the top. Then you got Khalil Mack, Myles Garrett, 13 in second. Third place, tied for third place technically. So yeah, it's heating up. Defensive Player of the Year run here. I mean, obviously, like we said, we had Myles Garrett and T.J. Watt collectively between the 3 of us, and both still in it. And then you have the dark horses like Danielle Hunter and Khalil. Who would have thought Khalil Mack would be in running for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, was this 2018?
Yeah.
Cool throwback.
I mean, he's doing well even without Joey Bosa on the other side now. Yeah. The Steelers covered -2.5, under 36.5. Titans 17-10 over the Panthers. It is very frustrating to watch.
I only watched like the 2-minute drill at the very end, and the fact that you end the game on a damn screen pass, I was like, what are you doing?
They had so many opportunities, though. Like,
Yeah.
The defense kept getting stops, and they just literally just hurt themselves. Penalties, turnovers, non-conversions on third down. But anyways, Bryce Young, 18 of 31, 58.1%, 194, 3 carries, 23 yards, a fumble. Again, though, I don't put it on Bryce. He doesn't have any time.
Yeah, that offensive line is really bad.
Jeffrey Simmons was in there almost every play, as was the Nico Autry, which we'll talk about at the bottom there. But it is ridiculous. And especially, that's where defensively, obviously, that's where you want to get the pressure is up the middle. But against a 5'9" quarterback, like, that's even worse. Up the middle is tough on him. So, Will Levis, 18 of 28, 64.3%, 185. Derrick Henry, the king, good game for him. 18 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a reception. I traded for him last week. Great game on in the lineup this week. Panthers wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, the rookie, finally getting involved. 4 catches, 60 yards on 6 targets, leading the game in receiving. And defensively, yeah, like I said, Jeffrey Simmons, the Nico Autry. I'm going with the Nico Autry, though, for the game. Defensive end for the Titans, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Brian Burns, though, was also a beast for Carolina, as he has been.
If only they traded him for couple first-round picks.
Bro, he's still worth 2.
He's still worth 2, yeah. He's at least worth 2 or 1 plus a good amount, like 2 or 3 second and third round picks.
Yeah, if we can get a 1 and a 3 this year, and like a 2 and a 5 next year, I think that would be a solid package.
Yeah, but it's just why is Carolina married to Brian Burns? Like
because they see him as a cornerstone as their defense, which I understand, but you don't have any draft capital this year.
Yeah, and it's also like once you start becoming competitive, he's gonna be too old, and he's not gonna be in this prime. Let's be real. Carolina, best bet, maybe competitive in 2 years, and I don't think Brian Burns is gonna give you the same like production in 2 years that he is now.
It's the same reason they didn't trade Dante Jackson either, who was probably worth at least a third. So,
Tepper, man, Tepper's awful. He's like Dan Snyder minus the like controversy, but he's just like he's too meddlesome. He's getting in his own way, and it's going to be really bad for Carolina. And let's hope he gets that Jed York treatment where like Jed York figured out, oh, if I step out of the way, my team can be good. And that's why the 49ers are decent after he came in and just kind of ruined things for the 49ers for 3-4 years. And then he went, wait, I should not be a douche and just stay in the background. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like we're hearing from Mr. Tepper a lot, but I haven't heard a peep from Scott Fitterer, the GM. I had to look him up because I didn't even remember who the Panthers GM.
I couldn't. I like before you said his name, I couldn't say Scott Fitterer's name off the top of my head because I didn't know he existed. Yeah, it just feels like, especially with Frank Reich too, it just felt like everything ran through Tepper. Like it had to be Tepper's move. Like it's absurd just how much power this guy has.
The Titans cover -3.5, under 36.5. Jags, massive win in Houston, 24-21 over the Texans. the doink at the end of a 58-yarder from Matt Amendola that
Absolutely disrespectful that they cut him after missing that.
could have sent the game to OT. But yeah, once again though, this is what we want. Trevor Lawrence, this is it. Like 23 of 38, 60.5%, 364, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, a rushing touchdown, and CJ Stroud for Houston, 26 of 36, 72.2%, 304, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 47 yards, a rushing score as well.
He's my
MVP. Matchup for the next 10 years.
He's my MVP now. Like I'm not shy in thinking that
a rookie can win 65 team.
So what? He's unbelievable. His turnaround that he's been able to help lead this Houston Texans team is awesome. He's amazing.
I think there's a guy that wears green and white somewhere on the East Coast.
No. If Jalen Hurts wins MVP, this is the worst MVP in a long time.
He doesn't have the stats, but he has the wins.
Who cares?
Clutch, which we'll talk about.
His team is clutch. Jake Elliott misses that 59-yarder. We're not having this conversation.
Anyways, we already had the MVP conversation. Jags running back Travis Etienne gotten dinged up in this game, but 20 carries, 56 yards, 4 catches, 30 yards on 6 targets. 100-yard day for Texans wide receiver Nico Collins, 7 for 104, a touchdown on 9 targets. Calvin Ridley went off on my bench. And defensively, I'm going to go with – or no, it wasn't on my bench this week. Never mind. It was Mike Evans who went off on my bench. Jags linebacker Josh Allen, my defensive player of the game. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits.
He's a beast.
He is tied for 5th in sacks right now. 12.5, I mean. Or 12, whatever it is. Jags minus 1.5 covered, under 47.5. Speaking of Mike Evans, my stupid decision was starting Romeo Dobbs on Thanksgiving. But the Lions
didn't do too bad though.
The Lions, he got 6.7 points. Yeah. The Lions defense had been really poor against the pass, and of course Christian Watson, who I was playing against.
Who was that other Green Bay wide receiver? Had a decent game. Am I mixing up with Dobbs?
Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed, that's who it was. Yeah, that's who I'm mixing up with.
Who I was also playing against in a league.
Yeah, I was playing against him.
Colts 27-20 over the Bucks, vaulting into number 7 seed in the AFC playoffs. Gardner Minshew 24-41, 58.5%, 251, 1 pick, 1 rushing touchdown. Why couldn't you play like that 2 weeks ago when you're playing against the freaking New England Patriots in Germany and you score 5 points? Literally, if he would have scored a half point more, I would have won that game.
Dude, that jet lag gets you. German beer.
Baker Mayfield, 20 of 30, 66.7%, 199, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 3 carries, 14 yards, and a fumble. That fumble ended the game. Bucks running back Rachaad White, 100-yard day, 15 carries, 100 yards even, 2 catches for 10 yards. 2 touchdown day for JT, 15 for 91, 2 scores. Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman Jr. over 100, 10 for 107 on 13 targets. His fellow teammate, rookie Josh Downs, 5 for 43 on 13 targets as well. Mentioned Mike Evans going off, 6 for 70, 2 touchdowns on 9 targets. And then defensive player of the game has to be Colts defensive end Samson Ebukam. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. One of those sacks was that game-ending strip sack of Baker Mayfield. Colts minus 2.5 covered, over 44.5. Who would have thought we'd be sitting here November 28th and the Indianapolis Colts will be in the playoffs right now?
Without Anthony Richardson, too.
Yeah. Well, I think he would have took a little dip anyways.
Probably, but he did look solid before he went down.
Yeah. That's just me being a Richardson hater, just like I'm a Richardson hater. The Falcons, first place Falcons.
Ugh.
24-15 over the Saints.
It feels gross to see. It always feels gross when you see a team with a losing record like leading a division.
Dude, it's what what was it? 2013, I think, NFC West, and 2019 Panthers, the NFC South.
I think it was that. I think you might be thinking 2010 NFC West, because if I remember correctly, that Seahawks team beat the defending champion Saints in their own stadium.
Yeah.
Yes, it's I think that was the Beastquake run, if I remember correctly.
It would want to work. 2014 Panthers was the NFC South. That one. 2020 Washington football team.
Oh yeah, and then
they didn't win the division though. They didn't win the division though.
Yeah, but they snuck in somehow. I don't know
how. 2010 Seahawks. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was the Beastquake against New Orleans. Big run. It's kind of what got the whole beast mode started. Anyway, back to this.
Oh wait, the Washington football team did win the division?
I thought it was the Saints, because I remember
I guess the football team did win the NFC East in 2020.
Oh yeah, that's right, because Dak Prescott got hurt halfway through the year. Carson Wentz was just an absolute dumpster fire for the Eagles, and then Giants were the Giants.
I did not recall the football team winning.
It was with Taylor Heineke. They faced Buccaneers in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Well, it's okay. Anyways, Derek Carr, 24-38, 63.2%, 304, one pick. I feel so bad. I kind of feel bad for Carr, and then I kind of don't at the same time. Because the man's putting up numbers, putting up 300-yard games left and right.
Just not putting in the end zone.
Right. That's the issue. They kicked 5 field goals. 5. They literally could not score. The red zone offense is horrendous. So that's the thing. If they could get that figured out, like, holy crap. The Saints could be like, whatever, 7-4.
Yeah, this should be their division, and they should be running away with it. They have more talent than any team. Like, Buccaneers are still in a weird spot. Panthers, obviously. And Falcons, they have Arthur Smith. So, I mean, they should really be running away with this. And I'm wondering if it's coaching staff for the Saints.
Well, and that's why I picked the Saints to win the division, and that's why I picked them to go to the NFC Championship. It was Derek Carr. He's the best quarterback in the division by far. And they have a good defense.
And they have decent weapons. I mean, Kamara, Olave when he's healthy. I mean, and Thomas when he's healthy, but he's never healthy. But
yeah, but no, I agree though. I think Dennis Allen's leash should be very short at this point. They need someone better. They need an offensive. Dennis Allen's a great defensive coordinator. Excellent. Need an offensive coach like Sean Payton back in New Orleans.
Yeah, you need a headhunter coach like Sean Payton. Teach them boys how to lead with the helmet.
That wasn't him.
Yes, it was.
That was Greg Williams.
He oversaw Greg Williams.
Plausible deniability.
I'll never let it die.
Falcons, Desmond Ridder back in the saddle on this one. 13 of 21, 61.9%, 168, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 7 carries for 30 yards. Bijan Robinson went a little bit wild, over 100 scrimmage yards, 2 touchdowns, 16 carries, 91 yards, a touchdown on the ground, 3 catches, 32 yards, a touchdown through the air, 6 targets. Mentioned Olave there, over 107 for 114 on 9 targets. And then defensively, there's 2 guys, DBs, Falcons safety Jesse Bates the third. How about the money Falcons spent? Well worth it this season. Jesse Bates having an excellent year. 12 tackles, 7 of them solos, pass deflection, 92-yard pick 6. And then Saints safety Tyrann Mathieu, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 pass deflections, 1 QB hit, 2 picks. You mentioned 2018 earlier. That's where we were at with this one as well, with Tyrann Mathieu.
The Honey Badger's back.
Falcons plus 1.5 went outright under 42.5. Giants, my lone wolfing New York Giants, 10-7 over the Patriots. This was an outstanding game, just full of plays. I watched every single second of it on my phone because it was the other. It was the Fox 1:00 game in my area in Pennsylvania. So yeah, I watched this entire game.
You watched Tommy DeVito?
Yeah.
Mr. Lives at Home.
Hey man.
Yeah, I'm not making fun of him.
I might be in the same spot.
Same.
In May. So
who knows?
So my parents asked, where are you gonna go when you graduate? I was like,
back to my room.
Home, maybe.
Keep them sheets clean for me.
But yeah, it was a great lone wolf. By the way, let's see. Logan had got lone wolf on the Titans over the Panthers, lost the Texans over the Jags, got the Colts over the Bucks. This was my first one. Giants over the Patriots. Tommy DeVito, though, 17-25, 68%, 191, 1 touchdown and a fumble. Mac Jones benched once again, 12-21, 57.1%, 89 yards, 2 picks. Bailey Zappi has to have this job now. I mean, he didn't look great, but he got him in position to win the game or tie the game, and he scored. He got them in position to score their only touchdown. So,
at what point do you just play Malik Cunningham and just see what you got? Because at this point,
well, they did re-sign Will Grier to the practice squad today.
Ooh, the West Virginia legend.
But yeah, Zappi, the Zapster, 9-14, 64.3%, 54 yards and a pick. He threw one less than Mac. You know, it's improvement. Ramondre Stevenson had a great game for me in fantasy after I traded for him a little bit ago. 21 carries, 98 yards, touchdown, 5 catches, 9 yards on 5 targets. Giants rookie wide receiver Jalen Hyatt finally having himself a game over 100, 5 for 109 on 6 targets. And then defensively, I don't know who to go with. I guess Giants linebacker Jihad Ward, 5 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Giants plus 4.5 went outright under 34.5. My second lone wolf, Rams, killing the Cardinals. I don't know what you and Logan were doing picking the Cardinals.
I was riding the Kyler Murray momentum, and I thought Stafford wasn't going to be completely healthy. Boy, was I wrong.
Kyler, 27 of 45, 60%, 256, 1 touchdown, 1 rushing score as well. Matt Stafford, 4 touchdown throws in this one, 25 of 33, 75.8%, 229, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. But it was the Kyron Williams show. Number 23 went wild. 16 carries, 143 yards, 8.9 yards per carry. And then also in the receiving game, 6 for 61, 2 touchdowns on 6 targets.
Damn.
Cardinals wide receiver Marquise Brown leading the game in receiving, 6 for 88 on 12 targets. 2 touchdown day for Rams tight end Tyler Higbee, 5 for 29, 2 scores on 5 targets. And defensively, I got to go with Rams defensive tackle Kobe Turner, the rookie out of Wake Forest. 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. The Rams covered -3.5 over 45.5. Broncos killing the Browns, 29-12. DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, concussed in this one, 14 of 29, 48.3%, 134, 1 touchdown, 5 carries, 21 yards. PJ Walker coming in for him, 6 of 13, 46.2%, 56 yards and a fumble. Russell Wilson, not the greatest day, like he had been playing, but still not terrible. 13 of 22, 59.1%, 134, 1 touchdown, 11 carries, 34 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Again, against the top 5 defense. So, not going to have great numbers usually. The Broncos running back Javonte Williams leading the way in rushing, 18 carries, 65 yards, 3 catches, 6 yards on 6 targets. You had Broncos wide receiver Cortland Sutton, leading receiver in this one, 3 for 61 on 6 targets. And defensively, got to go with I'm going to go with Broncos linebacker Nick Bonito, second-year man out of Oklahoma. 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and 3 QB hits. Excellent game. I was rooting for both teams, really, because I was playing against the Broncos defense, so I needed Cleveland to score points. That did not happen. They gave the ball to the Broncos 3 times. And but the Broncos did win, which helped the Steelers move back into second place in the AFC North. So Broncos covered -1.5 over 37.5. I have no clue why this was a 1.5 for the Broncos. They did understand they were playing against a rookie quarterback, right?
Yeah.
That was drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah, come on. Be nice.
I don't think you're ready for this.
Nope, never am.
Yes, sir. Go Birds, baby. Clutch. That's all it is clutch. And if you listen to the soundbite, look up, I think Kim Jones was the one who retweeted it. It's a short video from NFL Films or something that they had the mic on Brandon Graham, and like he was one of the people that went out for the coin toss, and the Bills won the coin toss, and he's like, it don't matter. And then they had the video of him on the sideline too, and they're like, one's got us. We got one. And then when they were going for the touchdown, he's like, he's like, give it to Jalen. He's like, give it to Jalen. And yeah, they did give it to Jalen, and won this damn game. I was scared. I had probably about 17 heart attacks during this game.
Oh, you poor thing.
It ended up great. It's this back-to-back weeks, though. This this team, man, all they do is win.
They're all right.
37-34 over the Bills in overtime. I didn't know if Jake was going to make that field goal at the end of regulation or not. I was like, bro, like,
in those conditions, it was insane.
It's raining. It's been pouring all game. And like I know he has the leg. But yeah, like you said, in that conditions, this is a bomb.
Mm.
And he had extra yards on it too. But yeah. And the craziest thing was when he kicked it and he hit it left, and that thing zoomed right. I was like, oh my goodness, that thing is going well right. And then it just curved in there. Let's go. But yeah. Game of the year?
I'm trying to think of any other one that would be game of the year. I'll stick with this one then.
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, I can't think of really any other one. Was there the CJ Stroud, the Texans Cardinals game?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Was pretty solid.
Or you could do Texans Bucks game. That was a really good one.
But yeah, this one was probably the game of the year so far. And the Eagles got a bunch of candidates coming up still for more games of the year. Niners this week, Cowboys next week. But yeah, Josh Allen, it's hard to lose with the stat line he had. 29 of 51, 56.9%, 339, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 9 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 4 scores for Allen. But Jalen Hurts scored 5. 18 of 31, 58.1%, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, 14 carries, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and a fumble. Eagles running back DeAndre Swift leading the way, 1 yard short of Allen for the rushing lead, 14 carries, 80 yards, and a 4-yard catch. Eagles wide receiver Devontae Smith over 100, 7 for 106, touchdown on 8 targets. Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, both double-digit target days. Gabe Davis over 100 as well, 6 for 105, touchdown, 12 targets. Diggs 6 for 74, touchdown on 11 targets. A.J. Brown scored. Olamide Zaccheaus scored. And yes, that was also a crazy play. The fact that Jalen kept the play alive and then trusted his guy would make the play in the end zone. I mean, that's why they signed Zaccheaus in the offseason, to be the third wide receiver. He's been dinged up a little bit, but defensively, for as much of a game as it was, there really wasn't a lot of stats, but I got to go with Eagles corner James Bradbury, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 5 pass deflections, and a pick. I think that pick was one of the things that set the course of this game in the favor of the Eagles. Eagles cover -2.5 by the hook. Over 48.5, 71 points in the rain.
Just as we all expected.
Yeah, and now with the Lions loss on Thanksgiving, the Eagles now have a 2-game lead in the NFC. It's fantastic. And the Eagles can become the first team to clinch a playoff berth this coming weekend. We'll talk more about that on Friday. Chiefs back in the win column, 31-17 over the Raiders. They outscored the Raiders 31-3 after being down 14-0 early. I was looking at the scores and I was like, holy crap, what are the Raiders doing? 14-0. They got him. They got him right where they want him. And then Patrick Mahomes said,
Nah.
Hold up. This is the Raiders. Ah, okay. Gotcha.
The Raiders.
But yeah, Antonio Pierce now moves to 2-3 as head coach. Patrick Mahomes, 27 of 34, 79.4%, 298, 2 touchdowns. Aiden O'Connell, 23 of 33, 69.7%, 248, 1 touchdown. Josh Jacobs, over 100, 20 carries, 110 yards, touchdown, 4 catches, 15 yards on 6 targets. 60 of that was on his touchdown run. I believe it was a 60-yard touchdown run for him. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco, 2 touchdowns in this one, 15 carries, 55 yards, 2 scores, 5 catches, 34 yards on 5 targets. Rashee Rice was on my bench with 24 points.
I started him.
8 catches, 107 yards, touchdown on 10 targets. That league I did need him, I think. Yeah. Because that league I should have done what I was thinking about doing. Granted, it wasn't starting Rice. I forget who else I was going to start. But it was like benching Austin Eckler and putting Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson at the top in the running back slots, and then someone else in the flex. Did not do that, though. Defensively, there wasn't a lot here, so I'm going to go with Chiefs defensive end George Karlaftis. 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 QB hit. Chiefs covered -9.5, over 42.5. Sunday Night Football, Ravens 2010 over the Chargers. This thing started out just in the biggest BS that I've ever. The officiating in this game was horrendous.
It feels like officiating in this entire weekend was awful. Like, refs are bad this year. I can't like sugarcoat it. It's been a bad officiating season, and this week was like the cream of the crop of bad officiating.
Like, dude, how you not throw a flag on the hit on Justin Herbert at the sideline is beyond me. That should have been first and goal from the 1-yard line.
I thought the whole point were protecting quarterbacks, and this is like picture perfect, like rough, unsportsmanlike conduct, hitting a guy running out of bounds. I thought the whole point was to protect quarterbacks, and now we have a like picture perfect like penalty. Throw the flag, show this like recording to any ref, and be like, "Hey, this is like what it looks like," and then you just don't. Like, it was absurd. Like, I was watching it, I'm just sitting there like, okay, did the broadcast not just forget to put the flag like emblem? Because I mean, obviously, and they're all running back to the huddle. I'm like, there's no way. Like, that was just absurdity.
Yeah, and Terry McCauley, the rules official for NBC, multiple times in this game, he said, "Yeah, the officials got it wrong." Like
it's bad when the like official they have in the booth, who usually is always like official like friendly, when you see him going like, "Wow, that is a missed call," that's when you really screw up.
But yeah, like the whole game went down on that first possession for LA. Because if they get first and goal from the 1-yard line, more than likely, I would believe that Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen would be able to get that ball in on the 1. So the Chargers would have been up 7-0 instead of 3-0. I think they started up, or I don't remember what happened. But yeah, and then they get a flag on Jamari Salyer for protecting his quarterback. So they jump him back 15 yards. And yeah, and then I think Herbert got sacked or something like that, and whatever. But yeah, not a great start. And then it just continued from there. But yeah, Herbert 29 of 44, 65.9%, 217, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 4 carries for 47 yards and a fumble. Oh yeah, by the way, you lost your only lone wolf, the Browns against the Broncos. I got the Eagles right as a lone wolf against the Bills. And bro, I was like, there's no way I can go 4-0 in lone wolves. And then the Chargers started like that, and I was like, there's a chance. And then the officials said, nah, fam.
Psych.
Lamar, 18 of 32, 56.3%, 177, 1 touchdown, 11 carries for 39 yards. Thought the Chargers defense played excellent. They constantly, just like the Vikings last night, gave their team the chance to win. They stopped the Ravens, I believe, after every single turnover that they had on offense. Maybe they gave 3 up on one of them, but they held serve for almost the entire game. Gave the team a chance to win. And Lamar played like crap. I'm not saying, everyone's like, oh, bro, he's playing so well. I was like, yeah, but is he playing well, or is that the defense?
He's felt very, unimpressive this year. Not bad, but just you kind of expect more from him. I thought he was, especially with this new contract.
Ravens rookie running back Keaton Mitchell leading the way in rushing, 9 for 64, 2 receptions for 25 yards. Austin Eckler sucked, like I said. Bro, stop fumbling. This is 2 in a row, 2 weeks in a row, fumbling. It's getting ridiculous. Didn't help that their other best player, Keenan Allen, also fumbled. He had a monster night, 14 receptions, 106 yards, 16 targets in that fumble. It's
honestly
crazy.
I was surprised it was called a fumble. I thought it was just an incomplete pass.
Well, it's crazy though. How do you as a defense, he's their only weapon in the passing game. How do you not triple team him and make someone else beat you? I have no clue. Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers, 2 touchdown night for him, 5 catches, 25 yards, touchdown on 8 targets, and a 37-yard rushing touchdown.
Good
and
fantasy.
Then, defensively, Chargers linebacker Khalil Mack, 6 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, and a QB hit. Ravens minus 3.5 covered, under 49.5. And we're not into college yet, but we are going to get the college football playoff rankings here shortly. So we'll keep you updated on all that.
We're talking about Vikings? Well, hey, it's been a good show.
Hold on. We got 21 through 25 college playoff rankings. Kansas State stays in the top 25 after their loss to Iowa State at 25. Liberty at 24. 12-0 Flames for the first time ever. Clemson up to 23 from 24. Tulane up 1 to 22. Tennessee stays at 21 with their blowout over Vanderbilt. So we'll see Tulane and Liberty this weekend out of those 5 teams. Liberty in the Conference USA Championship, Tulane in the American Athletic Conference Championship. Oregon State down 4 to 20 after their loss to Oregon. NC State up 3 to 19. Oklahoma State up 2 to 18. Notre Dame up 1 to 17. Iowa up 1 to 16. They just love the Hawkeyes. And I talked to our guy Colin Schultz, our resident Hawkeye fan, and I told him a month and a half ago Iowa's going to be the worst 10-2 team probably in NCAA history, and here we are. They are 10-2. They are number 16, and they are going to the Big Ten Championship in Indianapolis this weekend.
And they are about to beat Michigan, baby. Woo!
Arizona stays at 15. Louisville down 4 to 14 after their upset loss against Kentucky. LSU up 1 to 13. Screw LSU. Oklahoma up 1 to 12. Ole Miss up 1 to 11. All winners this weekend. Yeah, bro. LSU is just so annoying. But I don't know how quick we're going to get the top 10. Bears 12-10 over the Vikings. It's an excellent game last night. I know everyone enjoyed it.
Just the most fun football game I've ever seen in my life.
To be honest, I enjoyed the Giants game over this game.
Me too.
Penn State is up one spot into the top 10 once again. We are
Penn State.
Yes, sir.
Penn State.
Are they just going to why are they talking so much about Penn State? We won. Just move on. Missouri stays at 9. The top 9, I don't think will change, except for Ohio State moving down. How far down is the question that everyone
I've seen people put 5, and lowest I've seen is 6. So it's probably just gonna be 5 or 6.
I want Oregon to jump to number 3.
Ooh. You madman.
They will after Oregon should be number 2 if they beat Washington. That's what I want. Alabama stays at 8. Oh. They shouldn't. They should drop after that performance. I don't care if they won. And I understand Penn State and Missouri are both 2-loss teams. But still. Texas stays at 7, of course. And like I said, Alabama in the SEC championship against Georgia, Texas against now 17th ranked Oklahoma State, or 18th ranked Oklahoma State. I think it was. I can't remember. Are they 18? I don't know. Whatever it is. Something team. Okay, they're going to talk till they get to the top 6. But this game here.
It happened.
It was something. Josh Dobbs single-handedly lost me a fantasy matchup.
Well, Josh Dobbs single-handedly lost Monday Night Football, so we are all living the life here.
Justin Fields, 27 of 37, 73%, 217, 12 carries, 59 yards, 2 fumbles. He's not the guy. I mean, I've been saying he's not the guy since he got drafted, but he's not the guy.
No. The fact of the matter is, this is
dominated this game, and they won by 2 on a walk-off field goal.
Yeah.
If you have the guy, you don't do that. You win by a lot.
You don't get 4 interceptions from your defense and only score 12 points.
Yeah. I've granted, Vikings defense played excellent. They have most of the season. Here we go. Top 6, Ohio State 2-6.
That hurts.
So
I guess that means Oregon's 5.
I'm telling you, Oregon should be 3.
I did. I'm not disagreeing.
I don't care if they have 1 loss to Washington. It'll be interesting, though. Is Florida State 5?
Ooh.
What if that happens and they put 2 Pac-12 teams into the – that would be ridiculous.
In the last year of the Pac-12. That'd be great.
Granted, obviously, they won't both make it unless it's a close win by Oregon. Oregon is at 5, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What if, though? What if Louisville beats Florida State?
It's possible.
Washington loses close to Oregon. They both have 1 loss, both 12-1, with close losses to each other.
And then Iowa beats Michigan.
No.
And then Bama beats Georgia. We have chaos, baby.
No. Let's stick with the Pac-12. Let's stay in reality. Let's stay in reality, Jimmy. Let's stay in reality. Florida State is number 4. But I'm just saying, I don't think I've heard anyone talk about this. Oregon beats Washington close. They both have close losses to each other. Florida State loses to Louisville. Texas wins the Big 12. 12-1 Texas, Big 12 champ. I think you have to have a conversation with 3 and 4 about Texas, Oregon, Washington, all there. Washington is at 3. I swear to God, if Michigan is at 1,
they might.
That would be the biggest BS. I think they've learned their lesson though about Georgia. I think it doesn't matter.
They've just had 3 straight weeks of very high quality wins against ranked opponents. I don't see how they drop them.
Well, Georgia Tech this week, but yeah, Michigan at 2, Georgia at 1.
That makes sense.
So, what we're gonna have is a 1-8 matchup in the SEC championship game, a 2-16 in the Big Ten, a 3-5 in the Pac-12 championship on Friday. Liberty is in the CUSA championship on Friday, ranked 24th. You got number 4 against 14 in the ACC championship game. 7 against, I still don't remember what Oklahoma State was ranked. 16, I think, or 7, 18, I think. In the Big 12, you got Tulane sitting at 22 against SMU in the American Championship game. Of course, you have Maction, Toledo, Miami, Ohio. In that one, Mountain West is UNLV hosting Boise State after that fiasco that went down, which we'll talk about. Conference USA is App State at Troy. And I think I got all of them. I think. Anyways, conference championship week. Excellent. But yeah, Josh Dobbs, 22 of 32, 68.8%, 185, 1 touchdown, 4 picks, 2 carries, 11 yards. And yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week. Vikings lost at Denver. Talked about the turnovers. Got to stop. They did not stop, and they lost again. So Vikings now outside the playoffs. So, yeah.
Yeah. Bummer. Vikings are.
They're still there.
They just flipped with Seattle, so they're 7 right now.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, because they were holding serve at 6.
Yeah,
but there are teams on their trail. Packers, Rams, Saints, all 5 and 6 right outside. Half game back. That I don't know the exact because I don't have all of the stats in front of me, but possibly get jumped this week.
But I don't think they can get jumped by the Packers because they beat the Packers earlier this season. I think.
Well, not the Packers, but know about the Saints and the Rams.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, not the Saints because Saints beat them. I mean, they beat the Saints.
Okay, then the Rams.
The Rams.
Wow. Alexander Madison leading the game in rushing, 10 carries, 52 yards, 2 catches, 11 yards. DJ Moore, 100-yard night for him for Chicago, 11 receptions, 114 yards on 13 targets. 10 double-digit target night for Vikings rookie wide receiver Jordan Addison, 6 for 39 on 10 targets. How about the litany of defensive performances in this game? I got to go with your guy, Vikings linebacker Danielle Hunter, 9 tackles, 6 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits.
He was everywhere.
Jalen Johnson, though. Jalen Johnson, he would have
pick six.
He would have been, he would have been the defensive player of the game if he would have took that pick six that he dropped.
Yeah. Well, season's over.
But I don't know what the Bears are doing not re-signing him. That's the first time I have really watched him. And he crushed it. So someone's going to get him paid. I think there's
Vikings.
Two teams on the East Coast in the state of Pennsylvania that could use his services. The Bears plus 3.5 went outright under 43.5. Collegiate athletics. Friday, Black Friday, number 13, Oklahoma 69-45 over TCU. Nice. This game was crazy. Dylan Gabriel, 24-38, 63.2%, 403 touchdowns, 1 pick, 7 carries, 36 yards, a rushing score as well. Gabriel's playing excellent. Josh Hoover for TCU, 32-58, 55.2%, 344, 4 touchdowns, a pick, and a rushing score as well. TCU running back Imani Bailey over 121 carries, 150 yards, a touchdown, 4 receptions, 24 yards, and a touchdown. His counterpart, Oklahoma running back Gavin Sawchuk, equally over 122 carries, 130 yards, 3 touchdowns for him, 2 receptions for 16 yards. Oklahoma wide receiver Drake Stoops, also over 100, 12 receptions, 125 yards, a touchdown. Just everyone scored, including the defense. Oklahoma defensive back Billy Bowman Jr. back-to-back weeks with a pick 6, 9 tackles, 4 solos, 45-yard pick 6. I forgot to say TCU tight end Jared Wiley, 2 touchdown game for him, 8 catches, 39 yards, 2 scores. Oklahoma covered minus 11.5. Over 66.5 by themselves. We had 114 points in that game. Number 17, Iowa. What a game.
Spectrum.
What a game. 13-10. I watched this game. I watched this entire game. This is fantastic. Chuba Purdy, Brock Purdy's brother, 15-28, 63.6%, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 12 carries, 42 yards, a fumble. Iowa quarterback Deacon Hill, 11-28, 39.3%, 94 yards a pick, 5 carries, 10 yards a rushing score. And this game was crazy. The end got wild.
It got real nuts.
Because Nebraska picked off Deacon Hill, right? So you're thinking, bro, Matt Rule is going to upset Iowa and get to a bowl in his first year.
No.
And then Purdy threw a pick to Iowa. And then it swung back, and Iowa got in field goal range and kicked the game winner. But yeah, the ending was really exciting in this game for a 23-point game. LaShawn Williams for the Hawkeyes, over 116 carries, 111 yards. Nebraska wide receiver Jalen Lloyd, the leading receiver in this one, 1 reception for 66 yards, a touchdown. And defensively, how about Nebraska defensive back Tommy Hill? 3 tackles, 2 solos, 3 pass deflections, 1 pick. Not Tommy Hilfiger. Just Hill.
Just Hill.
Iowa +3. They were dogs in this one. Yeah, going to Nebraska. Wins outright. How about the under hitting in this one? 25.5.
My word.
That's fantastic.
I'm really excited to see what the over-under is in the Big Ten Championship.
Would you like to know?
I'm going to guess it's like 35.5.
Well, the spread's 23 right now.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say?
I said 35.5.
No, right. You got it right on.
Let's go. Like, I knew they would probably spot Michigan like 10 points because they're considered a powerhouse, but I was like, yeah,
23. 23.
Let's go.
I
know ball.
Next game.
Please.
Toledo, 32-17 over Central Michigan. And it was interesting. Friday's games, there were a lot of bowl denials. A lot of teams got denied bowl bids and losing their 7th game. But then on Saturday, it was the opposite. A lot of teams were getting that 6th win. For Central Michigan, quarterback Jace Bauer, 15-26, 57.7%, 182, 1 touchdown, and a rushing score. CMU also had punter Jake Walrath throw a 49-yard pass. Toledo quarterback Daquan Finn didn't have to do a lot on the day. 9 of 17, 52.9%, 97 yards, touchdown, 9 carries for 24 yards. He got a lot of help from his running backs. Toledo running back Penny Boone having a great season. Massive game, 21 carries, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 reception, 0 yards. Central Michigan wide receiver Thomas Panunzio leading the game in receiving, 3 for 60 and a touchdown. And defensively, got to go with Toledo defensive tackle Judge Culpepper, 5 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Toledo minus 9.5. Rockets cover under 54.5. Number 23, Tulane, stamping their ticket to the AAC championship game, 29-16 over UTSA. I was very, very distraught. I had the Roadrunners winning the AAC this year. They were so close. They just couldn't get out of their own way in this game. Turnovers, penalties, and then they would get to a Tulane 35, 45-yard line and just stall. It was crazy. Frank Harris for the Roadrunners, 25 of 38, 65.8%, 198, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 13 carries, 28 yards. Michael Pratt did not play well at all. Only 1 turnover, though, but just 9 of 22 passing, 40.9%, 125, 2 touchdowns, 10 carries, 50 yards, and a fumble. Got a lot of help from the running game, though. Green Wave running back Mekhi Hughes, 26 carries, 166 yards, a touchdown. Tulane wide receiver Chris Brazel II leading the way in the air, 5 catches, 93 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. And defensively, going with the bottom guy there, Tulane defensive lineman Keith Cooper Jr., 6 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Tulane minus 3.5 covers under 51.5.
Ooh.
I didn't watch this game. I did. I watched it a little bit and then definitely caught the end. Utah State 44-41, double overtime win over New Mexico. This was my first lone wolf? No, my second. So UTSA was my first lone wolf. New Mexico was my second. Can you believe I went an astounding 0-7 in lone wolves this week? It's just how do you do that? I don't even know. I could not tell you. You went 1-5.
Immaculate failure.
You went 1-5, sir. So
I got 1.
You're not much better.
What about Logan? How do you do?
3-2. But yeah. So UTSA wasn't really close, but this was close, as was almost every other lone wolf. Virginia and I guess North Carolina weren't very close, but about half of my lone wolves were very close, and some of them were heartbreakers. As was this one. New Mexico kicked the field goal in the beginning of the second overtime period. That's always your downfall. Levi Williams, the Wyoming transfer, I don't even know how he scored. He fumbled the snap. It was a shotgun snap. He fumbled it, dropped it straight on the ground. And then he just picks it up. There's no one outside to contain him. and he just runs in for the touchdown. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But the Aggies did get to bowl eligibility. 16 of 27 for Williams, 59.3%, 198, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 25 carries, 153 yards, 3 touchdowns. New Mexico played 2 different quarterbacks. Devin Dampier, I believe, was the starter. 5 of 12, 41.7%, 77 yards, touchdown, 8 carries, 36 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 reception for 1 yard. Dylan Hopkins, the UAB transfer, 12 of 31, 38.7%, 125 through the air. How about the rushing day for Lobos running back Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt? 31 carries, 233 yards, a touchdown. Utah State running back Rasul Faison, over 100, 18 carries, 106 yards, touchdown, and a 14-yard reception. Utah State wide receiver Jalen Royals leading the way through the air, 7 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdown day for him. And defensively, I'm going to go with Utah State defensive end Blaine Spires. 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. And just because I know you want me to say his name, Utah State defensive tackle Hale Matuapuaka. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss.
Favorite. Every time I see a Samoan, I'm really excited for you to say his name.
Well, too bad you're not going to be on the whole show and get to the Hawaii game at the end.
My Hawaiians.
Fantastic. There's a lot of them. New Mexico plus 4.5 covered, over 58.5, 85 in that game. Number 9, Mizzou, 48-14, just destruction over Arkansas. I think they literally dropped a nuclear bomb on Fayetteville in this game. That's how bad it was. Brady Cook really didn't do a lot, though. 12 of 20, 60%, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 14 yards, and a rushing score as well. KJ Jefferson got injured in this game. You know, it's just compounding the horrific final season that KJ Jefferson has had in his collegiate career.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Arkansas just sucks. And then on top of that, he gets hurt in their last game of the year. Going into the NFL. 2 of 2 passing, 2 yards, 2 carries, 15 yards, and a fumble. Arkansas backup to Jacoby Criswell, 12 of 20, 60%, 96 yards, touchdown, 3 fumbles. That's rough. Missouri running back Cody Schrader put an exclamation point on the end of his regular season. 27 carries, 217 yards, and a touchdown. Mizzou wide receiver Luther Burden III leading the way in receiving, 6 for 55. 2 touchdown day for Missouri tight end Brett Norfleet, 3 catches, 32 yards, 2 scores. Defensively, got to go with the touchdown score. Mizzou defensive lineman Jaden Jernigan, 1 tackle. It was a solo 10-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Chuck Hicks also having a great game for the Tigers. Missouri minus 9.5 covers, over 53.5. Boise State punching their ticket to the Mountain West Championship game, 27-19 over Air Force. This was your first lone wolf of the weekend, Air Force. 4 straight losses in the year for the Falcons. That's rough.
That's rough. I thought they'd recover. I thought it'd be like, all right, they'll end on a high note. No.
Well, like I said, once Zach Larrier got hurt at quarterback, like literally everything went downhill.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
And it's funny because Boise State did not actually punch their ticket to the conference championship with this win. They had to sweat out some computer rankings. The San Jose State game isn't for a while. But they won this one, and they needed a UNLV win. They needed a San Jose State loss. Air Force and Boise State went into this game needing the same thing, a win and a San Jose State loss to UNLV to make the Mountain West Championship game. And neither of them got that. Boise State at least had a chance. So with San Jose State beating UNLV, it was Boise State, UNLV, San Jose State all tied with 2 losses in conference play. And they all had not played each other. So they had to go to the average of selected computer rankings, which I think there was like 4 different ranking systems that they used.
What that means for us stat fans in the audience, they just played a game of NCAA football 2014 and just decided that way.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That would be sick.
They probably would have had Kellen Moore, Boise State at that point, I think. But yeah, ultimately UNLV picked as the number 1 seed, Boise State the number 2, San Jose State. That's 2. That's 2 teams. UTSA was the first one, San Jose State the second one. Had an opportunity to win or to get to the conference championship. Couldn't do it. San Jose State was my Mountain West champ this year as well. Anyways, into this game, Taylon Green for the Broncos, 13-17, 76.5%, 228, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 7 carries, 25 yards, a rushing score. John Boucher for the Falcons, 8 of 17, 47.1%, 131, 1 pick, and a rushing score. Air Force running back Dylan Carson over 100, 12 carries, 132 yards, a touchdown. Ashton Genty for the Broncos, 14 carries, 107 yards, a touchdown. 5 catches, 118 yards, and a touchdown. 225 total yards with 2 touchdowns on 19 touches. It's a good game for Genty. Mm-hmm. Air Force wide receiver Brandon Engel leading the game in receiving. That's interesting that the Air Force receiver led the game in receiving. Outside of Genty, I should say. Genty really led the game. But Engel, 4 catches, 57 yards for the Falcons receiver. And then defensively, Boise State linebacker Andrew Simpson, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. Boise State minus 6.5 covers, over 44.5.
Well, Rust, I got to get going. Got to make some dinner. Spend some time with the girl. But thanks for having me on. Viking season's over. I don't care what the playoffs say. We're done. You lose to the Bears at home. You deserve it. Anyway, Skull Vikings. I'm sad. Anyway, bye, everyone.
You got about 40 more games to go through.
Have fun. You're going to have a blast. Michigan sucks.
Number 7, Texas, demolishing Texas Tech on Friday. Quinn Ewers, his return, 17 of 26, 65.4%, 196, 1 touchdown and a pick. Arch Manning got into this game, 2 of 5, 40%, 30 yards. Baron Morton for the Red Raiders, 19 of 36, 52.8%, 88 yards, 3 picks, and a fumble. Or a rushing touchdown, I mean. The Texas running back Jaden Blue over 100 in this one. 10 carries, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 receptions for 14 yards. You also had Texas running back Keelan Robinson, just 1 carry. It was a 10-yard touchdown, though. Also had a 95-yard kick return touchdown. Texas wide receiver Xavier Worthy leading the game in receiving, 4 catches, 49 yards, a touchdown. And defensively, I'm going to go with the touchdown scorer here. Texas linebacker Jet Bush, 1 tackle. It was a solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a 43-yard pick 6. Texas covered minus 16.5, over 53.5 by themselves. We are number 11 Penn State, 42 zip over Michigan State. excellent win to get to double-digit wins once again for James Franklin and crew. Drew Aller for the Nittany Lions, 17-26, 65.4%, 292, 2 touchdowns. The big plays were abound in this game. Finally, for Penn State, was an excellent game for them to finish the season right. Bo Pribula had a good game as well, coming in for Drew Aller at the end. 2 of 2, 11 yards, 1 touchdown, and a rushing score as well. Caden Hauser, Michigan State, 11 of 19, 57.9%, 87 yards a pick. Penn State running back Katron Allen, great game for him and Nicholas Singleton, 15 carries, 137 yards, 3 catches, 17 yards, a touchdown. Nick Singleton, 18 carries, 118 yards, a touchdown, 2 receptions for 68 yards. Penn State wide receiver Omari Evans, the leader in receiving outside of Singleton, 1 catch for 60 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with Penn State linebacker Abdul Carter, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Adisa Isaac was also, him and Chop Robinson also were excellent in this game. Penn State covered -21, under 42.5 by the hook. No scoring, Michigan State. The Civil War, number 6 Oregon, demolishing number 16 Oregon State to get to the Pac-12 championship game. Bo Nix, 33 of 40, 82.5%, 367, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries, 31 yards, a rushing score. Heisman, give him the Heisman, especially if he wins the Pac-12. DJ Uiagalelei, 19 of 35, 54.3%, 220, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 7 carries for 13 yards. Oregon running back Jordan James, the leading rusher in this one, 7 carries, 43 yards, a touchdown, and a 7-yard reception. Oregon wide receiver Tez Johnson and Troy Franklin, both over 100. Johnson, 11 for 137. Franklin, 9 for 128 and a touchdown. And defensively, there wasn't a lot. Let me go with Oregon defensive back Dante Manning, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 pass deflection, and a pick. It's right around that hour and a half mark. You know what time it is. It's time for the freeze. Oregon covered a -14.5, under 61.5 easily. Let's head to Saturday and the game. We had Michigan in a close one. Number 3 Michigan, 30-24 over number 2 Ohio State, and I thought it was an interesting game. I mean, obviously, I was rooting for Ohio State. Logan got his lone wolf right in Michigan, but Ohio State could have won the game. They had their chance. Kyle McCord was driving them down the field, just overthrew his guy, threw a pick to Rod Moore there, but yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. I hate Michigan because they're like, oh, Michigan against everybody. Michigan versus everybody. Whatever. I don't care. They're still cheaters. I guess it pays to be a cheater in today's society. Everyone wants to take the easy way out, I guess. So cool. Whatever. I still think that Iowa is going to give them a game on Saturday, and we'll see. But anyways, Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord, 18 of 30, 60%, 271, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy, 16 of 20, 80%, 148 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 carries for 17 yards. Michigan running back Blake Corum, 22 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdown day for him. Ohio State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. over 100 in this one, 5 for 118 and a touchdown. And defensively, again, not a lot of stats in this game. Ohio State defensive end Jack Sawyer gets the nod for me. 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Michigan -3 covered, over 46.5. Kentucky, probably the upset of the weekend, I think. 38-31 over number 10, Louisville. Quarterback Jack Plummer for the Cardinals, 24 of 33, 72.7%, 242, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 11 carries, 19 yards, and a fumble. Devin Leary for Kentucky, 12 of 22, 54.5%, 206, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Kentucky running back Ray Davis ended up being the game-winning touchdown scorer, 14 carries, 76 yards, a touchdown, 4 catches, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air as well. So 3 total for Davis on the day. Louisville running back Jawar Jordan. He also 2 touchdown game for him, 17 carries, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns, a fumble, 3 receptions for 25 yards. Louisville wide receiver Jamari Thrash. He led the game in receiving, 6 for 60. How about the game for Kentucky wide receiver Berrien Brown? 2 catches, 48 yards, 2 carries for 22 yards, and a 100-yard kick return touchdown. And then defensively, I'm going with Louisville defensive back Benjamin Perry, 9 tackles, 5 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss. Kentucky +7.5 wins outright, over 47.5, 69 in that game. Number 14, LSU, 42-30 over Texas A&M. Bro, LSU should have lost this game. I don't care. Screw LSU. Screw Jaden Daniels. He doesn't deserve to win the Heisman. I don't care how many stats he puts up. They're a 3-loss team. They should have lost this game. I don't care. Jalen Henderson. How about the freshman for A&M in this game? 25 of 35, 71.4%, 294, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 16 carries for 10 yards. LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels, 16-24, 66.7%, 235, 4 touchdowns, 11 carries for 120 yards. Texas A&M running back Le'Veon Moss leading the game in rushing outside of Daniels, 9 carries, 45 yards, touchdown, 2 catches for 16 yards. How about offensive lineman Mark Nobal Jr. for A&M, a 1-yard touchdown run. LSU wide receiver Malik Neighbors, over 100, 6 for 122, 2 touchdowns for him. And defensively, you go with the bottom guy, LSU defensive end Ovi Ogalfo, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. LSU -10.5 covered, over 67.5, 72. UCF bowl eligible. The Knights 27-13 over the Houston Cougars. John Rice Plumlee for UCF, 23 of 27, 85.2%, 253, 1 touchdown, 15 carries, 58 yards, and a rushing score. Houston quarterback Donovan Smith, 12 of 20, 60%, 161, 1 touchdown and a pick, 14 carries for 24 yards. UCF running back RJ Harvey leading the way in rushing, 21 carries, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Houston didn't really have a running game. Stacey Steen, their leading rusher, with 33 yards. UCF wide receiver Kobe Hudson leading the way in receiving, 9 catches, 98 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with UCF linebacker Jason Johnson, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. Houston +15.5 covered, under 61.5. SMU 59-14 drubbing of Navy. Quarterback Preston Stone, by the way, cementing their spot in the AAC championship game. Preston Stone for SMU, 14 of 19, 73.7%, 322, 3 touchdowns. SMU also playing quarterbacks Kevin Jennings, 2 of 4, 50%, 26 yards, and Keldrick Luster, 1 of 4, 25%, 20 yards. Braxton Woodson for the midshipman, 9 of 18, 50%, 71 yards, 1 pick, 18 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Xavier Arline, the other quarterback for Navy, 0 for 6 passing. Navy running back Eli Heidenreich, leading the game in rushing outside of Woodson, 8 carries, 54 yards, and a 6-yard reception. Leading the way in receiving, SMU wide receiver Moochie Dixon, 4 catches, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. Big day for him. And then 2 guys defensively. I want to mention SMU sidewise. Long snapper Will Benton, the 4th, 1 tackle. It was a solo, a 0-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then SMU safety Isaiah Wokobe, 1 pass deflection, 74-yard pick 6. SMU minus 19.5 covered, over 46 by themselves. NIU Rusty's Huskies are going bowling, 37-27 over Kent State. Kent quarterback Devin Cargman, 16-29, 55.2%, 255, 2 touchdowns. NIU quarterback Rocky Lombardi, 9 of 18, 50%, 183, 1 touchdown, 9 carries, 19 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground and a fumble. NIU running back Gavin Williams leading the way in rushing, over 100, 17 carries, 103 yards, and a 12-yard catch. Kent State wide receiver Jameel Gardner Jr. leading the game in receiving, over 100, 3 catches, 111 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. 2-touchdown day for Kent wide receiver Luke Floria, 9 catches, 92 yards, a touchdown, and a 13-yard rushing touchdown as well. Defensively, got to go with NIU corner Jacob Finley, 2 tackles, both them solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection, 0-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. Kent State plus 20.5 covered, over 44.5, 64. Okay. Rice is going bowling as well. Hopefully JT Daniels will be back for the bowl game, 24 of 21 over FAU. AJ Padgett for the Owls, 24 of 37. Oh, I forgot. They're both Owls in this game. Rice Owls versus Florida Atlantic Owls. The Rice Owls, AJ Padgett, 24 of 37, 64.9%, 255, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 7 carries for 22 yards. FAU playing 2 quarterbacks. Daniel Richardson, 8 of 9, 88.9%, 93 yards, a touchdown. Must have gotten hurt because you don't pull a guy with that stat line. FAU quarterback Tyreek Starks, 5 of 10, 50% for 35 yards. FAU running back Kobe Lewis leading the game in rushing, 7 carries, 82 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches for 1 yard. And leading the way in receiving, Christian McCaffrey's brother, Luke McCaffrey for Rice, 12 carries, 12 receptions, 141 yards, a touchdown, 2 catches, 31 yards, and 0 for 1 passing. 2-touchdown day for his teammate, tight end Bowden Groen, 6 catches, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns for the big tight end. And defensively, I'm going to go with Rice defensive end Coleman Coco, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. FAU plus 3.5 covers by the hook, under 46.5. Syracuse 35-31 over Wake Forest. They are going bowling under their interim head coach. Wake Forest quarterback Michael Kern, 17-24, 70.8%, 261, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 9 carries for 30 yards. Syracuse quarterback Garrett Schrader, 10 of 15, 66.7%, 173, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 10 carries for 46 yards, and a rushing score. Syracuse running back LaQuint Allen, big day for him, 32 carries, 144 yards, and a reception for 0 yards. Big 100-yard day for each side in the passing game. Wake Forest wide receiver Taylor Morin, 7 receptions, 140 yards. And Syracuse wide receiver Damian Alford, 4 receptions, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. 2 touchdowns for Wake Forest wide receiver Wesley Grimes as well. 3 catches, 31 yards, 2 scores. And then how about the all-purpose day for Syracuse tight end Dan Villari? 1 reception for 13 yards. It was a touchdown. 13 carries for 51 yards. Then 2 of 2 passing for 51 yards. And he even threw a touchdown. Defensively, I am going to go with Syracuse defensive lineman Kevon Darton, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. How about the Monarchs going bowling? 25-24 over Georgia State. And, yeah, this was another one of my lone wolves. By the way, Houston lone wolf for Jimmy, losing to UCF, Wake Forest losing to Syracuse. Georgia State was mine. They were up in this game. And I thought they had it easily. Look, this team was up by a bunch. Old Dominion, credit to them, ridiculous comeback. But yeah, Georgia State went into, it was 21-0 at halftime. It was 21-7 at the end of the third quarter. Old Dominion scored a safety with 1:17 to go, ran the game winner in at the buzzer. Just crazy. So, yeah. It was ridiculous, the fact that Georgia State allowed them to come back. But, yeah. Thought I had this one. Turns out I did not. Grant Wilson, though, who scored the game-winning rushing touchdown, 15-33, 45.5%, 208, one touchdown, one pick, and then that rushing score, like I mentioned. Darren Granger for the Panthers, 26-36, 72.2%, 203, two touchdowns, two picks, 14 carries for 24 yards, and a rushing score. Obi Sani, the Monarchs running back, leading the game in rushing, 10 carries, 85 yards, a touchdown. Leading the way in receiving, ODU wide receiver Ramello Murphy, 4 catches, 96 yards, a touchdown. 2 touchdown day for Georgia State tight end Amon Green, 4 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. And defensively, I'm going to go with Georgia State linebacker Justin Abraham, 10 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss, and a pass deflection. I think I forgot to mention Syracuse covered -1.5 in that Wake Forest game, over 43.5. 66 in that one. Georgia State covered +2.5, under 49.5. By the hook. Battle of Louisiana. Louisiana crushing their rival UL Monroe, 52-21 to be bowl eligible. Chandler Fields for the Raging Cajuns, 18-20, 90%, 246, 2 touchdowns, 6 carries for 38 yards and a rushing score as well. ULM quarterback Jaya Wright, 6 of 10, 60%, 66 yards a pick, 7 carries, 16 yards and a touchdown. And then Blake Murphy, 3 of 10, 30%, 20 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Louisiana running back Elijah Davis, over 100, 14 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdown day for him. Louisiana tight end Neil Johnson leading the game in receiving, 3 catches, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns for him as well. Defensively, a lot of great defensive performances. 2 guys I want to mention. ULM defensive end Aiden Huntington, 8 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss and pass deflection. And then ULM defensive lineman Dylan Howell, 1 tackle and a 24-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Louisiana -13.5 covered, over 53.5. San Jose State, mentioned this game earlier, 37-31 over UNLV. They led from the jump, and the Spartans never gave up, giving themselves an opportunity to have a chance at the Mountain West Championship game. Ultimately fell short because of the composite rankings. San Jose State quarterback Chevin Cordero, though, this is the game I've been waiting for. 19-26, 73.1%, 249, 2 touchdowns. UNLV quarterback Jaden Mayava, 19-29, 65.5%, 229 and a touchdown. Spartans running back Kyrie Robinson, big game for him, 16 carries, 165 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. UNLV running back Jaden Thomas, big touchdown day for him, hat trick, 10 carries, 48 yards, 3 scores for him. UNLV wide receiver Ricky White, over 100, 5 catches, 111 yards. San Jose State wide receiver Nick Nash, 2 short of that, 3 catches, 98 yards. Defensively, where there weren't a lot of stats in this one, I'm going to go with UNLV linebacker Jackson Woodard, 11 tackles, 6 solos, 2 tackles for loss. Brian Parham for San Jose State actually should get it. Linebacker there, 8 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. San Jose State plus 1.5 wins outright over 58.5, 68 in that one. The Iron Bowl, this was the biggest bullshit moment of the weekend. Number 8, Alabama, 27-24 over Auburn. And goodness, I had it. By the way, Logan lone wolfing San Jose State last game. This game, though, I picked Auburn. There was just this feeling that I got that Auburn was going to win this dang game, and they should have. Absolutely should have. There is no way you should give up a touchdown on 4th and 31. 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. Absolutely inexcusable on Auburn's part. I don't know how you do that, but they did. Auburn lost the game. They don't even deserve to go to a bowl. I don't care. Anyways, Jalen Milroe for the Tide, 16-24, 66.7%, 259, 2 touchdowns, 18 carries, 107 yards. So 366 total yards, 2 touchdowns for Milroe. Peyton Thorne for Auburn, 5 of 16, 31.3%, 91 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, 15 carries, 57 yards. Auburn running back Jarquez Hunter, big game for him, leading the way in rushing outside of Milroe, 14 carries, 93 yards, and a 2-yard passing completion. Leading the way in receiving, Alabama wide receiver Jermaine Burton, over 100, 4 catches, 107 yards, touchdown. 2-touchdown day for Auburn wide receiver Javarius Johnson, 4 catches, 76 yards, touchdown, and a 12-yard rushing touchdown as well. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Alabama defensive linebacker Dallas Turner, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Auburn plus 14.5 covered easily over 47.5. Territorial Cup, number 15, Arizona, 59-23 over Arizona State. Noah Fafita, y'all. I mean, this kid is good. 30 of 41, 73.2%, 527 yards, 5 touchdowns, only blemish on his record of 1 interception. Probably the only thing standing in his way of a perfect QB quarterback rating of 100. But yeah, Fafita is excellent. I cannot wait to see him more next year in a whole season. Arizona State quarterback Jaden Rashada, 10 of 22, 45.5%, 82 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, 6 carries for 18 yards. Arizona State running back Cameron Scadaboo, over 100, 17 carries, 108 yards, touchdown, 0 for 1 passing. Arizona running back Michael Wiley, 3 touchdown day for him, 12 carries, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 2 receptions, 35 yards, a receiving touchdown as well. Leading the way in receiving, just massive nights for Arizona's 2 receivers. Tetairoa McMillan, 11 receptions, 266 yards, a touchdown. Jacob Cowing, 9 catches, 157 yards, a touchdown. Oh, and by the way, their tight end had 2 scores. Arizona tight end Tanner McLaughlin, 7 catches, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. And then defensively, a lot of interceptions. I'm going to go with Arizona safety Dalton Johnson, 8 tackles, 7 solos, 2 tackles for loss, and a pick. Arizona minus 12.5 covered, over 48.5 Arizona by themselves. Number 20, Oklahoma State, squeaking by BYU, 40-34 in double overtime. Quarterback Allen Bowman for the Cowboys, 31-47, 66%, 321, 2 picks, 2 punch there. Ticket to the Big 12 title game. If they would have lost, Oklahoma would have been in the Big 12 title game. But BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff, 14-30, 46.7%, 161, 2 rushing touchdowns and a fumble. BYU punter Ryan Reckow, also a 36-yard pass completion. Big day for Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon, the second, 34 carries, 166 yards, 5 touchdowns for Gordon, 4 receptions for 10 yards. That is just ridiculous for Ollie Gordon there. Scored the game winner in double OT as well. BYU wide receiver Oklahoma State wide receiver Leon Johnson III leading the way in receiving 9 catches, 132 yards. And defensively, how about the day for BYU corner Eddie Heckard? 5 tackles, 4 solos, 1 pass deflection, 2 picks. One of them was a 13-yard pick six. BYU plus 16.5 covers easily, over 54.5, 74. Number 21, Tennessee, 48-24, drubbing of Vanderbilt. Joe Milton III, big game for him. 22 of 33, 66.7%, 383, 4 touchdowns, 5 carries, 11 yards, 2 scores on the ground, 6 total for Milton. Tennessee also playing quarterback Nico Ayamaleava, 9 of 12, 75%, 66 yards, 2 carries for 15 yards. Vanderbilt, quarterback A.J. Swan, 14 of 23, 60.9%, 167, 1 touchdown. Ken Seals coming in for the Commodores as well, 7 of 9, 77.8%, 61 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 carries, 10 yards, and a rushing score. Tennessee running back Jalen Wright leading the way on the ground, 11 carries, 75 yards, and a 9-yard reception. Big day for Tennessee wide receivers Ramel Keaton and Squirrel White. Keaton, 4 catches, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. White, 10 catches, 110 yards on the day. Defensively, I'm going to go with Vanderbilt. Defensive back Jalen Mahoney, 4 tackles, 2 solos, and 3 pass deflections. Vanderbilt plus 27.5 covers over 56.5. Number 25, Liberty. The Flames have done it. A 12-0 regular season, first time in program history. 42-28 over UTEP. Caden McConnell for the Miners, 12 of 25, 48%, 164, 1 pick. Kevin Hurley also in for UTEP, 2 of 3, 66.7%, 57 yards, a touchdown, and a rushing score. Liberty quarterback Caden Salter didn't do much. 4 of 11, 36.4%, 22 yards, a touchdown, 13 carries, 76 yards. But Liberty ran for 441 yards in this game, starting at the top with their leading rusher and the game's leading rusher, Quentin Cooley, 13 carries, 83 yards, and 3 touchdowns for him. UTEP wide receiver Kelly Akari, over 105 catches, 109 yards. And defensively, I got to go with Liberty defensive tackle Jay Hardy, 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. UTEP plus 17.5 covers by the hook, over 54.5. Northwestern denying their rivals Illinois from bowling, 45-43, close one over the Illini. John Paddock for Illinois, 24-34, 70.6%, 334, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Ben Bryant for the Wildcats, 24-37, 75%, 234, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 6 carries, 15 yards, and a rushing score. Have to give now he is the head coach. Head coach David Braun for taking this program and just elevating it after the Pat Fitzgerald's hazing issues earlier in the year. Illinois running back Reggie Love III over 100 yards in this one, 23 carries, 106 yards, and an 8-yard reception. Northwestern offensive lineman Dom D'Antonio, 0-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. Illinois wide receiver Casey Washington, 200-yard day for him, 9 receptions, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns for the Illini receiver. Over 100 also was Northwestern wide receiver Cam Johnson, 7 catches, 124 yards, a touchdown. Big all-purpose day for Illinois wide receiver Isaiah Williams, 6 receptions, 57 yards, a 2-yard rush, and a fumble. Also a 14-yard passing touchdown. Defensively, I got to go with the touchdown score. Illinois defensive back Miles Scott, 6 tackles, 3 solos, and a 55-yard pick six. Northwestern plus 5.5 wins outright over 46.5. And again, close one on the Lone Wolves there because Illinois was another one that I got wrong and 2-point loss for me. Wisconsin, the Badgers, 28-14 over Minnesota. Minnesota is bowl eligible, however, given the not enough teams with six qualifying wins. Ethan Kaliak-Manis for the Gophers, 16 to 28, 57.1%, 167, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 5 carries for 12 yards. Wisconsin quarterback Tanner Mordecai, 14 to 22, 63.6%, 145, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 9 carries for 69 yards. Wisconsin running back Braylon Allen, a massive day for him, 26 carries, 165 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 27 yards. 100-yard day for Minnesota wide receiver Daniel Jackson, 9 catches, 121 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Wisconsin corner Nazir Forkorian. 7 tackles, 6 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Wisconsin -3 covered, under 46, and of course Logan got the homer pick as a lone wolf. Virginia Tech 55-17 crushing of Virginia in the Commonwealth Cup. I picked Virginia. Virginia Tech quarterback Kyron Drones, 10 of 22, 45.5%, 244, 3 touchdowns, 7 carries, 50 yards, and a fumble. You had Grant Wells come in for the Hokies as well, completed his only ball for 4 yards, 2 carries for 12 yards. UVA quarterback Anthony Calandria, 29 of 46, 63%, 243, 2 touchdowns and a pick. UVA also playing quarterback Jared Raymond, 0 for 1 passing, 3 carries, 12 yards. Virginia Tech running back Bayshul Tootin, over 100 in this game, 16 carries, 117 yards, touchdown, a 2-yard reception, and a 94-yard kick return touchdown as well. Virginia Tech wide receiver Daquan Felton, 100-yard day for him, 3 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. And UVA wide receiver Malik Washington, also over 100, massive day, 14 receptions, 115 yards, and 2 touchdown day for his teammate Malachi Fields, 6 catches, 89 yards, 2 scores. Defensively, I got to go with the top guy there, Virginia Tech, or the second guy, Virginia Tech defensive lineman Fidarius Payne, 7 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, and pass deflection. Not sure if he's related to Duran with the Commanders or not. Virginia Tech -1 covered easily over 52.5 by Tech by themselves. App State 55-27 over Georgia Southern. They got into the Sun Belt Championship game with this game and a Coastal loss, as we'll talk about next. But Joey Aguilar, 23 of 36 from the Mountaineers, 63.9%, 296, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 4 carries for 11 yards. Georgia Southern quarterback Davis Brin, 24 of 34, 70.6%, 238, 3 picks. J.C. French did not fare much better for the Eagles, 2 of 4, 50%, 39 yards, and a touchdown. App State running back Kanye Roberts, over 100, 14 carries, 109 yards, touchdown, 2 receptions for 27 yards. Leading the game in receiving was App wide receiver Caden Robinson, over 100, 8 catches, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. Double-digit reception day for Georgia Southern wide receiver Caleb Hood, 10 catches, 95 yards, a touchdown. And defensively, I got to go with App corner Tyreek Funderburk, 4 tackles, 3 solos, a half a tackle for loss, 2 pass deflections, and 2 picks. App State -10.5 covered, over 62.5, 60 by the hook, or no, 85 in this game. Or 82, I mean. James Madison, 11-1 season. Hopefully they are going bowling. 56-14, demolishing of Coastal Carolina, keeping the Chanticleers out of the Sun Belt Championship. Jordan McLeod for the Dukes, 26 of 35, 74.3%, 324, 5 touchdowns, a pick, and a rushing score, 6 total touchdowns for McLeod. Coastal quarterback Ethan Vasco, 21 of 29, 72.4%, 254, 1 touchdown, 9 carries, 45 yards, a rushing score, and a fumble. JMU running back Tyson Lawton, 14 carries, 73 yards, a touchdown, and a 15-yard reception to lead the way on the ground. Leading the way through the air was JMU wide receiver Elijah Surratt. 6 catches, 107 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 1-yard rushing touchdown as well, 4 total for Surratt. His teammate Phoenix Sproles, 11 receptions, 99 yards. Big night for him. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Coastal defensive lineman Will Whitson, 7 tackles, 4 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. James Madison minus 3.5 covers easily over 50.5 by themselves. Marshall is going bowling. The Herd, 35-21 over Arkansas State. Jalen Rayner for the Red Wolves, 19-38, 50%, 263, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and a fumble. Cam Fanter, excellent game for the Marshall quarterback, 16-22, 72.7%, 214, 3 touchdowns, 18 carries, 100 yards, even on the ground, 2 touchdowns and a fumble. 5 total scores for Fanter there, accounting for all 5 of the Herd's touchdowns. Marshall running back Ethan Payne leading the game in rushing, 19 carries, 113 yards, 2 catches for 5 yards. Corey Rucker, the Red Wolves wide receiver, leading the way in receiving, 5 catches, 87 yards. 2 touchdown day for Marshall wide receiver Chuck Montgomery, 4 catches, 51 yards, 2 scores. Also 2 touchdown day for Arkansas State wide receiver Courtney Jackson, 4 catches, 48 yards, a touchdown, and a 60-yard punt return touchdown for the Syracuse transfer. Defensive player of the game, I'm going to go with Marshall defensive lineman Mike Green, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Marshall minus 1.5 covers over 52.5. The Apple Cup, number 4, Washington, undefeated for the second time in program history. 1991 was the first they won a national championship that year. 24-21 over Washington State. Cameron Ward for the Cougars, 32 of 48, 66.7%, 317, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Michael Penix, not great. I think he slipped off out of the Heisman. I think it's Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels now, unless we get something in the Pac-12 title game. But Michael Penix Jr., 18 of 33, 54.5%, 204, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Washington running back Dylan Johnson, nice game for him, leading the way in rushing, 21 carries, 82 yards, touchdown, and a 6-yard reception. Washington wide receiver Roma Dunze, over 100, 7 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His counterpart, Washington State wide receiver Josh Kelly, over 100 as well, 8 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown. And then Kelly's teammate, Lincoln Victor, double-digit receptions, 11 receptions, 88 yards, touchdown, 1-yard carry, and 0 for 1 passing. And defensively, I am going to go with Washington State defensive back Jaden Hicks. 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a pick. Washington State plus 15.5 covered easily under 65.5. New Mexico State, first 10-win season, I believe, in school history, 20-17 over Jacksonville State, heading to the Conference USA Championship game against unbeaten Liberty. Diego Pavia continues to be good. 23 of 34, 67.6%, 269, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 19 carries, 68 yards, and a fumble. Jacksonville State quarterback Zion Webb, 17 of 30, 56.4%, 248, 2 picks. New Mexico State running back Jamani Jones leading the way in rushing. Neither team really could run it, but 12 carries, 44 yards, touchdown, and 3-yard reception for Jones. Big day for Jacksonville State wide receiver Perry Carter, 7 receptions, 134 yards to lead the way in receiving. And then defensively, I'm going to go with New Mexico State linebacker Gabe Peterson, 9 tackles, 7 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. New Mexico State covers minus 2.5, under 48. Number 5, Florida State. The Seminoles are undefeated as well, 24 of 15 over Florida. Tate Rodemaker, 12 of 25, 48%, 134. Tough road game, but they got it done. Max Brown for Florida, 9 of 16, 56.3%, 86 yards, and a pick. Florida running back Montrell Johnson Jr. over 100 in this one, 18 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown. How about the night for Florida State running back Trey Benson, 19 carries, 95 yards, a hat trick of touchdowns with 3 and a minus 2-yard reception. Florida State wide receiver Johnny Wilson leading the game in receiving, 6 catches, 64 yards. Whole host of defensive performances, but I'm going to go with Florida State defensive lineman Jared Verse. 6 tackles, 3 solos, 2.5 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss. Florida State minus 6.5 covers under 48.5. Number 18, Notre Dame, 56-23, crushing Stanford. Quarterback Ashton Daniels for the Cardinal, 15-25, 60%, 152 and a pick. Ari Patu playing for Stanford as well, 3 of 6, 50%, 37 yards, 4 carries, 37 yards, and a fumble, as did Justin Lamson, 2 of 6, 33.3%, 19 yards, 10 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. And then Stanford also playing quarterback Bo Nelson, 1 for 5, 20% for 8 yards. Sam Hartman for Notre Dame, 8 of 14, 57.1%, 142 touchdowns, a pick, 4 carries, 47 yards, and a fumble. Steve Angeli got in later, 0 for 1 with a pick. Notre Dame running back Audric Estime, my dude had a night. 25 carries, 238 yards, 4 touchdowns for him, 9.5 yards per carry. Excellent for my guy Audric Estime. Notre Dame wide receiver Jordan Faison led the game in receiving outside of Stanford running back E.J. Smith. 3 catches, 66 yards, a touchdown for Faison. Stanford running back E.J. Smith, like I mentioned, Emmitt Smith's son, just 1 carry for -1 yard, but leading the game in receiving, 7 receptions, 116 yards for him. And then how about the night for Notre Dame defensive lineman Javonte Jean-Baptiste? 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles lost, and oh, by the way, 60-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Notre Dame -26.5 covers. Over 49.5 Notre Dame by themselves. Go Dogs! Number 1, Georgia. Undefeated still. 31-23 over Georgia Tech, breaking the SEC winning streak record at 29 now. Carson Beck, 13-20, 65%, 175, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 4 carries for 24 yards. Haynes King for the Yellow Jackets, 11-20, 55%, 158, 10 carries, 24 yards, 2 rushing scores on the night. Georgia running back Kendall Milton, he had a big night. 18 carries, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. Georgia Tech wide receiver Eric Singleton Jr. led the way in receiving, 4 catches, 96 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with Georgia Tech defensive back KJ Wallace, 2 tackles, both solos, 1 pass deflection, and a pick. Georgia Tech plus 24.5 covers easily under 59.5. Number 24, Clemson, 16-7 over South Carolina. Spencer Rattler for the Gamecocks, 16-32, 50%, 112, 1 pick, 7 carries, 16 yards for his last game of his career. Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik, 15-27, 55.6%, 100 yards, 1 pick, 11 carries for 52 yards. Clemson running back Phil Maffa led the game in rushing, 19 carries, 89 yards, and a 5-yard reception. South Carolina wide receiver Xavier Leggett leading the way in receiving, 6 catches, 68 yards, and a fumble. And defensively, got to go with the bottom guy, Clemson safety Khalil Barnes, 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 pass deflections, a pick, and a 42-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Clemson -7.5 covers under 48.5 easily. USF, the Bulls are going bowling. 48-14 annihilation over Charlotte. Byron Brown for the Bulls, 22 of 30, 73.3%, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 8 carries, 43 yards, and a rushing score. 5 total touchdowns for Brown. Charlotte playing 2 quarterbacks. Trexler Ivy, 13-22, 59.1%, 98 yards, 2 picks. Steven Johnson, 3 of 6, 50%, 67 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. USF running back Michael Dukes led the way in rushing over 100, 15 carries, 104 yards. You had USF running back Kelly Joyner, 2 touchdown day for him, 4 carries, 33 yards on the ground, 4 catches, 71 yards, and 2 touchdowns through the air. Charlotte wide receiver Jarris Mack led the way in receiving, 4 catches, 87 yards, a touchdown. 2 touchdown day for USF wide receiver Sean Atkins, 7 catches, 61 yards, a touchdown, and a 62-yard passing touchdown for him as well. Defensively, I am going to go with USF linebacker Jamie Petway, 5 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. USF -7.5 covers easily over 56.5. Iowa State upset 42-35 over number 19 Kansas State in the snow in Manhattan, Kansas. Will Howard, 24 of 48, 50%, 288, one touchdown, one pick, 11 carries, 46 yards, and a rushing score. The Wildcats quarterback, Iowa State quarterback Rocco Becht, 8 of 12, 66.7%, 233 touchdowns. Excellent day for Becht. But it was all about the freshman. Abu Sama III, 16 carries, 276 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, a fumble, and an 11-yard reception. Does not get much better than that. KSU had their own 100-yard rusher, DJ Giddens, 31 carries, 114 yards, a touchdown. Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Noel over 100 receiving, 3 catches, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. KSU tight end Ben Sinnott over 100 as well, 10 receptions, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with Iowa State defensive back Miles Purchase, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 4 pass deflections on the day. Iowa State plus 9.5 wins outright over 46.5 easily, 77 in that game. Number 22, NC State, 39-20 over North Carolina. Brennan Armstrong, excellent game for him, 22 of 31, 71%, 334, 3 touchdowns, 9 carries for 22 yards. Drake May, 22 of 38, 57.9%, 254, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 9 carries, 106 yards, touchdown, and a fumble. 3 turnovers for May cost him in this game. NC State running back Delbert Mims III leading the way in rushing outside of May. 14 carries, 44 yards, and a touchdown. 2 touchdown day for NC State wide receiver Kevin Concepcion, leading the game in receiving, 7 catches, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oh, and he also had 11 carries for 55 yards in the backfield. Great all-purpose day for the freshman Concepcion. And then defensively, I am going to go with NC State linebacker Peyton Wilson. Excellent day. 15 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass and a pick. NC State plus 2.5 wins outright over 56. How about the shocker? Cal, the Bears are going bowling 33-7. Just domination over UCLA at the Rose Bowl. Dante Moore, 23 of 38, 60.5%, 266, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, and a fumble. Coming in for the injured Ethan Garbers, who went 7 of 9, 77.8%, 43 yards. The Cal freshman Fernando Mendoza, 19 of 30, 63.3%, 178, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Cal running back Jaden Ott, the sophomore, 21 carries, 80 yards, a 1-yard reception, and a 100-yard kick return touchdown, leading the game in rushing. Cal wide receiver Jeremiah Hunter, 100-yard night for him, 8 catches, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns. And defensively, I got to go with Cal linebacker David Reese, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 3 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss. Cal plus 9.5 wins outright under 51.5. Pac-12 after dark, last regular season game, Pac-12 history right there. Hawaii, the Rainbow Warriors get the 5 wins on the season, 27-24 denying Colorado State a bowl bid. Braden Shager was fantastic, 30 of 43, 69.8%, 321 touchdown, 8 carries for 49 yards. Hawaii had to scramble, though. They let Colorado State hang around and then let the Rams tie it up before getting a walk-off field goal at the end. Colorado State quarterback Braden Fowler Nicolosi, 26 of 38, 68.4%, 317, 2 touchdowns, a pick. CSU running back Justin Marshall leading the game in rushing, 20 carries, 94 yards, a touchdown. How about Hawaii wide receiver Tamatoa Mokiao Atimalala with a 8-yard rushing touchdown. CSU wide receiver Torrey Horton, massive night for him, 9 catches, 186 yards, a touchdown, lead the game in receiving. And then defensively, I'm going to go with Hawaii defensive lineman Andrew Choi, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Hawaii plus 5.5 wins outright under 53.5. And forgot to mention, Logan got South Carolina wrong over Clemson. I got North Carolina wrong against NC State. And then we had some lone wolves during the FCS playoffs, which start right here. FCS playoffs first round, Sacramento State 42-35, upset over North Dakota in the Dakota Dome, or whatever it's called, 42-35. Caden Bennett for the Hornets, 17 of 22, 77.3%, 207, one touchdown, 13 carries, 126 yards, two touchdowns. Excellent day for Bennett. It was a back and forth game, really, and then North Dakota just allowed too much in the second half. Tommy Schuster for the Fighting Hawks, 11 of 17, 64.7%, 137 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Gavin Zybarth leading the game in rushing outside of Bennett there for the Fighting Hawks, 18 carries, 96 yards, two touchdowns for him. North Dakota tight end Quincy Vaughn, two touchdown day for him, 2 carries, 3 yards, 2 scores. Sacramento State wide receiver Anderson Grover leading the game in receiving, 6 catches, 96 yards, a touchdown. 2 touchdown day for Sac State tight end Coleman Kuntz, 1 reception for 17 yards, and then 3 carries for 4 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensive player of the game goes to Sacramento State defensive lineman Ben Ahio for a pick. Sac State +3 wins outright over 59.5, 77 in that one. Also high scoring, Richmond 49-27 over NC Central. Jimmy scoring a lone wolf win on this one. Kyle Wickersham for the Spiders, 16 of 23, 69.6%, 291, 3 touchdowns, 13 carries for 69 yards. Eagles quarterback Davius Richard, 16 of 27, 59.3%, 262, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, 18 carries for 51 yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns, 4 total for Richard on the day. Richmond running back Savon Smith leading the way in rushing, 15 carries, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 19 yards. NC Central wide receiver Devin Smith, 200-yard day for him, 6 catches, 202 yards, a touchdown, just 60 yards by everyone else. Richmond wide receiver Jerry Garcia Jr., 2 touchdown day and over 100 receiving on the day, 5 catches, 107 yards, touchdown, and a 6-yard rushing score as well. Also 2 touchdown day for his teammate, wide receiver Nick DeGennaro, 4 catches, 82 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensive players of the game, Richmond defensive back Aaron Banks with a pick, and NC Central defensive back Malcolm Reed with a fumble recovery. Richmond -5 covers over 57.5. That was 76 in that one. Delaware, 36-32 comeback victory over Lafayette. Delaware quarterback Nick Minicucci, 16 of 25, 64%, 198, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks, 10 carries for 46 yards. Lafayette playing 3 quarterbacks in this one. Dean Denobile, 10 of 15, 66.7%, 164, 2 touchdowns, a fumble. Ashawn Davis, 4 of 6, 66.7%, 60 yards. And then Ryan Schuster, 1 of 4, 25%, -2 yards and a fumble. Not sure if he's related to UND's Tommy Schuster. Lafayette running back Jamar Curtis, over 100 in this one, 29 carries, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns, a fumble, 3 receptions, 24 yards, and a receiving touchdown as well. 4 total for Curtis here, helping the Jaguars have a chance. Lafayette wide receiver Elijah Stewart leading the game in receiving, 4 catches, 92 yards, a touchdown. And 2 touchdown day for Delaware tight end Braden Brose, 3 catches, 39 yards, 2 scores. Defensive players of the game here, Lafayette defensive back Saiku White with a pick. Lafayette defensive back Narian Brown and defensive back Taylor Smallwood, both also with interceptions. Fumble recoveries by Delaware defensive back Christian Pierce, Delaware linebacker Dylan Traynor, Delaware linebacker Jackson Taylor, and Lafayette linebacker Darian Riley. Lafayette +7.5 covers over 49.5, 70 in that game. And now we get more low scoring here. Mercer going on to the second round, 17-7 over Gardner Webb. Jalen King for Gardner Webb, 21 of 38, 55.3%, 231, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 17 carries, 11 yards, and a fumble. They also played Geno English, did the Bulldogs 0 for 6 passing. Carter Peavy for the Mercer Bears, 16 of 26, 61.5%, 122, 11 carries, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mercer running back Al Wooten II leading the way in rushing, 17 carries, 63 yards. 100-yard day for Mercer wide receiver Ty James, 7 catches, 100 yards even. And then defensively, Mercer corner Miles Weston with 2 picks. His teammate safety Lance Wise with a pick, and their other teammate defensive lineman Caden Camise with a fumble recovery. Mercer -4 covers under 54.5 easily. Southern Illinois 35 zip over Nichols State. SIU quarterback Nick Baker 12 of 22, 54.5%, 168, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries for 10 yards. His teammate Hunter Simmons coming in later in the game, 2 of 4, 50% for 13 yards. Nichols quarterback Pat McQuaid, 12 of 26, 46.2%, 127, 2 picks. And then Nichols also playing quarterback Jacob Foss, 2 of 3, 66.7% for 50 yards. SIU running back Roe Elliott over 100 yards in this one, 9 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nichols wide receiver David Robinson Jr. leading the way in receiving, 5 catches, 65 yards. And defensively, all SIU, linebacker Brandon Combs and corner DJ Johnson with interceptions, linebacker Chris Presto with a fumble recovery. SIU -14 covers under 44.5. Chattanooga 24-21 over Austin P. Chattanooga quarterback Luke Schomburg in the upset, 21 of 36, 58.3%, 259, 1 touchdown and a pick. Austin P quarterback Mike DeLello, 12 of 22, 54.5%, 107 yards and a touchdown. Austin P running back Javon Jackson, massive day in a loss, 23 carries, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chattanooga wide receiver Javin Watley leading the way in receiving, 5 catches, 97 yards, touchdown. UTC wide receiver Jamoy Mays, 4 catches, 58 yards, a 4-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then defensively, how about the day for Austin P defensive back Corey Chapman, even in a loss with a pick, and he also fumbled. That was the Jamoy Mays. His fumble return for a touchdown was off of Corey Chapman. Chattanooga +5.5 wins outright under 55.5. How about North Dakota State? The Bison. I've never seen a playoff game this bad. 66-3. Good Lord. Cam Miller, almost perfect for the Bison. 10 of 11, 90.9%, 206, 2 touchdowns, 7 carries, 62 yards, a fumble. They also played Cole Payton. He completed both of his passes for 23 yards. Also 13 carries, 104 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Payton. Drake quarterback Luke Bailey, 13 of 24, 54.2%, 111 yards, 2 picks, and a fumble. His counterpart, Blake Ellingson, did not fare much better. Completed his only pass for 5 yards and a fumble. Drake running back Dorian Boylan led the game in rushing outside of Peyton, 9 carries, 67 yards. 2 touchdown day for North Dakota State running back Barika Capinu, 9 carries, 58 yards, 2 scores. 2 touchdown day also for North Dakota State wide receiver Eli Green leading the way in receiving, 3 catches, 91 yards, a touchdown, 2 carries for 12 yards. And then his teammate, wide receiver Rajah Nelson, 2 catches, 51 yards, touchdown, 2 carries, 11 yards, and a touchdown for Nelson. Defensive players here, North Dakota State defensive end Kelton McCaslin. He had a 5-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Interceptions by North Dakota State safety Sam Jung and corner Jaden Price. Fumble recoveries by North Dakota State linebacker Julian Lodarczyk and Loshiako Roque, and Drake defensive lineman Colin Shrimp. North Dakota State covered -40.5, over 48.5 NDSU by themselves. And finally, Youngstown State 40-7. The Penguins crushing Duquesne and crushing Jimmy's Lone Wolf. He got Lafayette wrong over Delaware. Logan got Gardner Webb wrong against Mercer. And like I said, Jimmy Duquesne losing big to Youngstown State. The Penguins. Mitch Davidson for the Penguins, 18 of 27, 66.7%, 316, 2 touchdowns. YSU quarterback Bo Brungard also completed both of his passes for 6 yards, 3 carries for 10 yards, and a touchdown. Duquesne quarterback Matthew Robinson, 6 of 10, 60%, 41 yards a pick, 3 carries for 10 yards. Also playing Darius Parantes, 3 of 12, 25%, 33 yards. YSU running back Tyshawn King, 100-yard day, 19 carries, 101 yards, leading the game in rushing. YSU wide receiver Bryce Oliver, massive day for him, 8 catches, 181 yards, touchdown. And defensive player of the game goes to Youngstown State defensive back Tyjon Jones with an interception. Youngstown State covered, minus 21.5, under 63.5. And we're going to speed through the news here because I got a meeting in about 10 minutes. But college football news, Michigan offensive lineman Zach Zinter was revealed. He suffered a broken tibia and fibula, had surgery on that. Massive loss for Michigan's defensive line there, or offensive line there in the Big Ten championship game. We had the Broyles Award finalists for the top assistant coach in college football announced this week. Georgia offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, Iowa defensive coordinator Phil Parker, LSU offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock, Michigan offensive coordinator Sharon Moore, and Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein. All much deserved. NFL news, the Panthers have fired head coach Frank Reich just 11 games into the season's second shortest head coaching stint in NFL history, 1-10 to start this year. He said it's probably going to be his last job and might go into retirement. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor will be the interim head coach, and the team, Tabor making the decision with special advisor Jim Caldwell, now to Thomas Brown, quarterback coach Josh McCown, and assistant head coach / running backs coach Deuce Staley also out in Carolina. Former Panthers tight end Greg Olsen, interestingly enough, has interest in the position. The Vikings, they are going to evaluate the quarterback position during the bye week with rookie quarterback Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins now both available and healthy again. So we'll see if the Vikes make a change or not coming out of the bye. IR return. Vikings activated wide receiver Justin Jefferson off IR today with his hamstring injury. He's expected to return after the bye, December 12th against the Raiders. The Chiefs, they placed wide receiver Mecole Hardman on IR. Injury-wise, Dolphins pass rusher Jalen Phillips, bad news, tore his Achilles. He is out for the season, having a great year, but all for naught. Jags offensive lineman Cam Robinson, he has a knee injury. He is out 3 to 6 weeks. He was recently placed on IR. Texans offensive tackle Titus Howard, he has a knee injury as well. Browns rookie quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he has a concussion, possibly opening the door for former Super Bowl winner Joe Flacco to start this weekend in LA against the Rams. Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, he has a quad injury. He is day-to-day. Browns defensive end Myles Garrett ended up okay with his shoulder injury. He is day-to-day as well. And big news today, Colts running back Jonathan Taylor has a thumb injury. He had surgery on it, out 2 to 3 weeks. Releases. The Raiders surprisingly are releasing corner Marcus Peters. He has since cleared waivers, available to sign with anyone. Texans, like Jimmy mentioned, waived kicker Matt Amendola after he missed that game-tying field goal. Sucks to suck. Chiefs waived wide receiver John Ross, wants to continue his career and hopefully can get on a team there. The Cardinals today waiving running back Keontae Ingram, 2022 6th-round selection there. Signings, the Seahawks, they signed Cowboys corner Kelvin Joseph to the practice squad. The Texans, they claimed Eagles defensive end Derek Barnett off of waivers. The Dolphins also tried to put a claim in for him to no avail, as Texans had the higher waiver priority, needing some pass rush help with Jalen Phillips being out. And they got it in the form of Saints pass rusher Jason Pierre-Paul, who they signed off of the Saints practice squad today. Visits, the Cowboys, they hosted Colts linebacker Shaquille Leonard on a visit. He is now going to visit the Eagles tomorrow. Please sign him, Philadelphia. All right, pick standings here. How about the Thanksgiving break for Jimmy? 5-0 for Mr. O'Malley. He now takes a commanding 3-game lead over Logan and I, but it's not over. We will be picking bowl games on this show. Just wait. So Logan and I both went 3-2. Jimmy got lone wolf victories with the Packers and the 49ers on Thanksgiving Day. This Thursday, Seahawks at the Cowboys. We are all on Dallas, of course. Their point differential at home is absolutely ridiculous. They're crushing teams in Dallas. I would expect nothing less in this game after the Seahawks had a very middling game against the 49ers on Thanksgiving. We shall see, but take Cowboys, take the points probably, and Cowboys win this game. The total for this one is 46.5. I like the over. And next week, we'll be talking NFL Week 14. We'll also be talking conference championships because it is conference championship weekend. We'll have all your game recaps and game previews for next Thursday. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, at FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, and X, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, etc., and TikTok at Football Addicts Anon. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back for Football Friday.